Hi everyone and welcome to today's video. This is a B1 level language arts lesson, and today we're going to be talking about the elements of literature. So an important skill in language arts is the ability to analyze a text. So in this lesson we will analyze an example of narrative writing. And we have a vocabulary definition first. Analyze is a verb. It means to look closely at the parts of something to better understand it. So why do you think it's important to be able to analyze a text? And what parts of narrative writing can we analyze? So just keep those questions in mind as we go through the material in this lesson. So although there are many parts of a story that we can analyze, in this lesson we're going to focus on 5 of them: character, theme, setting, plot, and conflict. So think about these and see if you can explain what each of these mean in your own words. If you can't, don't worry, we'll be talking about that in a little more detail as we go forward. But maybe just write down some thoughts about what each of these terms mean, and then you can check your predictions at the end of today's video. All right, so now we're going to match these headings with the definitions. So go ahead and pause the video, try these on your own, and then restart when you're ready to check your answers. All right, number 1, the events that happen in the story, these events usually develop through the beginning, middle, and end of the story. Well, that would be plot. Number 2, the challenge or problem that the story is based around. This often causes the characters to take action and the plot to develop. That would be conflict. The central message or idea of the story. This is often an idea that everyone can understand, such as the importance of friendship, success and failure, etc. Well, that would be theme. The people, also sometimes animals or other living beings that the story is about. The reader follows their actions, thoughts, and feelings during the story. Those are characters. And the time when, or the time and where, the place that the story takes place is setting. All right, the pictures below are connected to a short story. And what do you think the story is going to be about? And what do you think is going to happen? So make some predictions for each of these. Who are the characters, or who's the main character? What do you think the theme might be? What's the setting? Maybe some ideas about what the plot might be and what the conflict might be. All right, so we're going to read the first part of this story, and then you'll determine whether the predictions that you made on the last slide were correct. You can either pause the video and read this on your own, or you can follow along as I read. Kayla stared down at the blank test paper on the desk in front of her. She had no idea what to write. She shifted in her seat and then looked up at the clock. It was 2:39 p.m., just 20 minutes left. She needed to do well on this test. If she didn't, there was no way she could pass the class, and that would mean having to retake the whole grade. All around her was the sound of her classmates writing away busily. Kayla sighed. Mr. Lee looked up from the papers he was grading at his desk at the front of the classroom. His strong gaze was a laser beam burning through her, and Kayla quickly looked down at her paper again. It was hopeless. Then Kayla remembered she had left her notebook in her backpack. All she had to do was reach down and take it out without Mr. Lee noticing. With the notebook, she would know exactly what to write. A feeling of joy flowed through her like a river down a mountain. So what do you think is going to happen in this story next? So make some predictions using the 5 elements. Character. So we have Kayla and Mr. Lee are basically the main characters. The setting, a classroom. The plot, she is struggling to do well on a test. The conflict is whether or not she's going to cheat. And the theme could probably be something like honesty or academic pressure. So these are some possible themes. So now we're going to read the rest of the story and see if some of the ideas that we talked about were correct. Again, you can pause the video and read this on your own, or you can follow along as I read. Carefully, slowly, silently, Kayla reached her hand down into her backpack and searched desperately for her notebook. Folder, pencil case, where was it? Finally, her fingers found what they were looking for, the notebook. Now the tricky part. She began slowly lifting it out of her backpack. Easy, easy, a bit more, nearly there. Kayla, what are you doing? Mr. Lee's voice boomed, breaking the silence of the classroom. Everyone stopped writing and turned to look at Kayla. Kayla stammered. An eternity passed. Well, Mr. Lee spoke again. What should she say? Being caught cheating was even worse than failing the test. She might even be expelled. Every muscle in her body shook. Her heart was pounding in her chest like a drum. I need to throw something into the trash, Kayla replied finally. Go on then, but be quick. You don't have a long time left. Mr. Lee returned to his grading. Kayla hurried to the trash can and threw her notebook away before going back to her desk. She'd gotten away with it. She was the luckiest girl in the world. She looked down, and the empty paper stared back at her. She had no idea what to write. So, is this important to Kayla? Is the test important to Kayla, and how do you know? Well, it is because she said she needed to do well on the test. If she didn't, there was no way she could pass the class, and that would mean having to retake the whole grade. Are Kayla's classmates having problems with the test? And how do you know? Well, it doesn't seem like they are, because it says all around her was the sound of her classmates writing away busily. And how does Kayla think the notebook will help her? Um, she thinks that the notebooks will give her an idea of what to write. And what does Kayla do with the notebook and why? Well, she throws it away because she told Mr. Lee that she needed to throw something away, and in order to cover the lie that she told, she had to throw the notebook away. And how does Kayla feel at the end of the story? She's still confused. She doesn't know what to do, maybe a little panicky because she still doesn't know what to write. All right, so now make some notes about the story using the headings below. We've got Kayla, who's the student in school, the setting, the plot, the conflicts, and the theme, and then for Mr. Lee, and then maybe the other students in the class, if you want to add them as characters. They don't really play a major character role, but you might include some of the other students. All right, so first we're going to talk about summarizing the story. Jin gives a summary of the story and look at the expressions in bold. What information do they introduce? Again, you can pause the video and read on it on your own, or you can follow along as I read. This story takes place in a school classroom one afternoon. It tells the story of a student named Kayla who is taking a test with her classmates. The problem is that all of her classmates seem to know what to write, but Kayla doesn't. She needs to do well on this test or she will have to repeat the grade. What happens is she remembers that she has her notebook in her bag, and she thinks this will help her pass the test. Tension comes from the fact that her teacher, Mr. Lee, might see her looking at her notebook. In the end, Mr. Lee notices her trying to cheat, but Kayla says she just wants to throw the notebook away. Mr. Lee accepts this, and Kayla is relieved. However, Kayla still has to take the test and time is running out. This is where the story finishes. The story explores the idea of cheating. Is it better to fail or to cheat? So the information that the expressions in bold, so the story takes place, that relates to setting. tells the story. That's the plot. The problem is that's conflict. What happens? That's more plot. Tension comes from the fact that, again, that relates to conflict. In the end, that's part of the plot. And here the story explores the idea of cheating. That is the theme. And so, do you think that Jen includes all the important information from the story in his summary? All right, here's some language for summarizing a story. The table below shows language for summarizing a story. And can you think of any other expressions that you can add? So, when talking about character, it tells the story of, the story is about, the main characters are. Setting, this story takes place in, the story is set in, the story happens in. Plot, what happens is, first, next, then. Ending, in the end. This is where the story finishes, finally. Conflict, the problem is that. Tension comes from the fact that there is a conflict between X and Y. And theme, the story explores the idea of, the story discusses, and the story talks about. All right, so now you're going to summarize another story with language from the table. So go ahead and pause the video, try this on your own, and then restart when you're ready to check your answers. All right, so number one, the story is about a young boy who dreams of becoming a baseball player. The story takes place in a small rural American town in the 1950s. First, his parents think that this is a bad idea and want him to join the family business instead. Tension comes from the fact that he continues practicing baseball in secret when his parents think he's at the library. What happens is he gets really good at baseball and the coach invites him to join the school team. Then a scout from a pro team sees him playing and offers him a professional contract. His parents are surprised but happy and tell him to take the opportunity. The story explores the idea of the importance of following your dreams. All right, so now you're going to write your own summary of another story. So first choose a story that you know well. It can be a book, a film, a TV show, and then make some notes in the table about the characters, the setting, the plot, the conflict, and the theme. Now you can write your summary, use the notes and the language from the table to help you. So here are some of the sentence starters for the different parts of the summary. And then make sure that your writing meets these criteria. Do you describe the characters, the setting, the plot, the conflict, the theme, and do you use correct punctuation? All right, now if you would like some feedback on your writing, you can send me a sample of your writing to my email. And here's the email address. And I can give you some feedback about the summary that you've written. All right, so then this is just a reflection of the things, kind of a review of everything that was covered in this lesson. If you can remember the 5 elements of a story and explain each element with examples, and try to remember some of the language you can use to introduce each element of a summary. And that brings us to the end of today's video. Please like, subscribe, share, and I hope to see you again next time. Also remember, if you want that feedback, send that to me in an email, or if you have any other questions, leave those for me in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.